just see as people come trickling in.
Okay.
And we're recording now.
Hi, everyone. We'll get started in a couple minutes. We just want to give everyone an opportunity to enter the webinar. And for everyone coming in, we'll be starting in just about a minute. We're just allowing everyone to enter the webinar. And I think that we could probably go ahead and get started. Welcome. My name is Janelle Fossler. I'm really excited to be here tonight to discuss the application and scholarship opportunities available at CIEE. In my role at CIEE, I do advising with applicants and their families from Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana. I really can't articulate how rewarding it is to help young adults have this really life-changing experience. Study abroad really just profoundly shaped my life and my worldview. So it's amazing to witness these transformational outcomes on a larger scale. I want to give everybody that's joining me tonight an opportunity to introduce themselves or our other presenters.
Should I introduce myself?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Hi, I'm Amber. I am a sophomore currently who studied abroad with CIEE last summer, and I was able to do this under a few scholarships, and I'm now very grateful to be here today to share a little of my experience with the application process and just helping out.
Thank you, Amber. Hudson, do you want to introduce yourself?
Might as well. Hi, I'm Hudson. I went with CIEE last summer to Rome, and I'm here to talk with you again about the application process and the scholarships I received and how they helped me enjoy the most of my time in Rome.
Thanks, Hudson. And then we have my colleague Brianna is also here.
Hi, everybody. I am Brianna. I am located in Providence, and I work with the student alumni after they get back, and engage them and help them put on amazing presentations like they are going to do for you today.
Thanks so much. So as mentioned several times, we're here tonight to really focus on the application process and the scholarship opportunities available at CIEE. I'd like to start by sharing more about the Council on International Educational Exchange, or CIEE. CIEE has been operating for 75 years and supports around 30,000 high school students and college students that study abroad each year. We're a mission-driven nonprofit organization, and I think that CIEE's history of supporting large volumes of students that study abroad each year really give us the level of expertise that you can trust. We have a whole team of people that are constantly monitoring the safety and security of our students abroad. So all they need to be focusing on is their learning. CIEE is also an industry leader in creating really engaging and academic study abroad curriculum so that students can really get the most out of their international experience. I've worked in international education for the past 10 years, and I'm just struck on a daily basis by the passion and knowledge that my colleagues bring to the table. I think that employees here really truly live the mission of this organization. And I haven't even gotten to my favorite part about CIEE and working here. CIEE offers nearly $6 million each summer to support high school students and having an international experience. That is the largest scholarship fund in the US for high school students. CIEE is just really dedicated to breaking down the cost barriers that prevent so many people from having international experiences. In college, I always saw study abroad as something that was really out of reach for me because of the cost barrier. And I had an advisor that really had to encourage me to study or to apply for a scholarship to go abroad. And I feel like the whole concept of this was like the concept of studying abroad and international travel was just literally so foreign to me. It completely transformed me on like a personal and academic and like professional levels. And again, I mentioned this, but it's so rewarding to see these transformational outcomes for high school students. I mean, I think that they grow so much in so many ways, become more independent. I think it really gives them like a global mindset. And so again, like I think like CIEE bringing these scholarships to students, it plays a big role in them, you know, like gaining all of these opportunities to grow and learn more about themselves. The other piece that I always like to share is that only 2 to 3% of high school students have traveled or have studied abroad. And so this really stands out on college applications and helps prepare them for a globally minded world and workforce in the future. CIEE offers programs in over 30 cities around the world. On this slide, everywhere that you see an orange dot is somewhere that we have a high school summer study abroad program. Later on in the presentation, I'll be sharing more about how you can view all the programs we have. I think right now it's over 50 to 60 opportunities, which is truly amazing. I want to mention that beyond our summer programs, we also have opportunities for students to do a semester abroad during their high school time or after high school. They can also participate in a gap year abroad before they shift on to college or other whatever they're planning to do in their future. And then we also have first year abroad, which is relatively new, but a really exciting opportunity for students to do their first year of college abroad. So Amber, I think is going to go first in presenting, sharing a bit about her study abroad experience.
Yes, hi, hello. These are some pictures from when I went abroad to Taiwan this summer. I, like I said, I was able to do this over multiple scholarships, and I met so many great people. I have grown up in the state of North Carolina, so this was the first city I'd ever been to, let alone another country. And I was really supported by CIEE to get there and my whole experience there. And after I came back, I knew I wanted to advocate for this experience that I had, and definitely was supported by my scholarships, which kind of like she was talking about right before, study abroad was something I barely even considered because of financial situations of mine. But with scholarships, I was able to almost like get a large amount of support. And yeah, these images show multiple different experiences I had abroad. So many people I met. On the bottom right, I'm with my host family there. So yeah, I just those are some of my experiences. And then the QR code is my referral link. If you want to sign up, you can go ahead and scan that, and it will, like it says, give you $200 off.
And then Hudson, did you also want to share a bit about your experience as well?
Sure, absolutely. My experience was actually pretty spur of the moment. During the summer, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and my parents were like, "Oh, well, you better do something, or else you're getting a job." And I was like, "Can't do that." So instead, what I did was I went online and I saw study abroad programs, and I saw that CIE was the first thing that popped up, and I was actually really excited because I like learning about classical stuff and I wanted to go visit Rome for the summer. And I was surprised because I thought it would be like this long, arduous process, but CIE made it really easy to apply for a program and fill out all the essays, which the questions that prompted them were not confusing at all. And I feel like writing the essays to get the scholarship and just to get into the program in general kind of taught me like about what I wanted to do there as well as just why I wanted to go there. And the scholarship really helped because we didn't really want to spend too much money on this because it was more like as I said, spur of the moment. It wasn't something that we wanted to dump a lot of funding into for me. And the scholarships allowed me to kind of prioritize what money was most important to me during my time in Rome, where I could spend more time with my friends and we didn't have host families, but our group kind of formed a sort of family together and we could go out and go to the store or go to restaurants on our own. And it kind of gave us this kind of financial freedom to do whatever we wanted. And we wanted to do a lot of stuff. So the scholarships it really helped us.
Thank you both so much for sharing. We will have more opportunities to talk with our alums throughout the presentation, but on that note, on talking about the scholarships, I wanted to provide more information on our scholarships. And later on in the presentation, I'll actually be pulling up the application and going into more detail, but as an overview, we have two different scholarships that students can choose to apply to. Our first one is our Academic Merit and Financial Needs Scholarship. This scholarship can cover up to 100% of the program costs. The range that we see scholarships offered are 20% to 100%. To be eligible to apply for this scholarship, you need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and you also can only be a freshman, sophomore, or junior. And so seniors, unfortunately, are not eligible for this scholarship, but part of the reasoning for that is that we want students to take this international experience back to the classroom and back to their school community. In addition to the Academic Merit and Financial Needs Scholarship, we also have just an Academic Merit Scholarship. That scholarship offers $500 off of the total program costs, and it is open to everyone. So freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors can apply for this. And this is also open to international students as well. Some of the differences between these scholarships, just to kind of highlight a few things, is that with the Merit and Financial Needs Scholarship, instead of choosing one program to apply for, we ask participants to rank their top 3 program choices. And so with that, we always try to give students their first choice program, but there's a lot of factors involved. And so, making sure that there's capacity on the programs and things like that. So there is a chance that students could get a program in their top, like one of their second choice or third choice program. What I hear over and over, what I was just hearing yesterday in a student presentation from one of our alumni is that oftentimes students actually, oh, sorry, excuse me. So oftentimes I feel like students really have like an experience that they wouldn't have had otherwise by getting their second or third choice program. It really allows them to experience a place where that really might not have been on their radar. And so I think it's a great idea when applying for the scholarship to take time to really look at the programs and think about how you're ranking them. With the academic merit and financial needs scholarship as well, we always recommend that students include at least one language and culture program in that top three, in their top three choices. With our funding, about 75 to 80% does go to language and culture programs. Since we have over $6 million, that still leaves over $1 million of scholarship funds that go towards our thematic programs or our non-language programs. So again, the language and culture program could be like the third choice program, but having at least one will open you to all the funding that we have available for scholarships. Another difference between the scholarships is with the academic merit scholarship, the only difference between the two applications is the merit scholarship will not ask for any financial information, which parents will provide their 1040, and I'll show this later on as we walk through the application process. The other thing I wanted to highlight on this slide as we talk about scholarship opportunities is that a lot of students are able to raise money to go towards their program in a variety of ways. Some students can fundraise, and so they might have like a GoFundMe account or do different. We've had students do so many creative things to raise money. Like making items. We had people who did like bake sales. So there's a lot of great ideas about that on our website. Another source of funding is there are some other scholarship opportunities in local communities and oftentimes through language professional associations. And so I always recommend that applicants talk to their guidance counselor just to find out what may be available through their school, and then also like language instructors, or like if they're going on a STEM program, like a science teacher, because they may be aware of funding that could offset the costs from one of these scholarships or help cover the costs of the flight. So yeah, I'd love if Hudson, do you mind unmuting and sharing about, I know that you received scholarships outside of the one provided by CIEE.
Yeah, absolutely. So my school has a really big foreign language program, and a few years back, the Italian teacher, his students created a program where a scholarship can be attained to learn Italian abroad, and it was actually really definitive. It was really helping for me to get that to help with CIEE because it kind of like pushed me in the right direction. I don't think I would have gotten to CIEE without that help, because it was the first step in my financial advancement towards getting into Rome and getting into the program, because just it was such a daunting task, I would say, to raise all the money for myself and not be sure if I could get in with CIEE scholarships and all of that. Not being sure if I had enough money for the program itself, but the scholarship from the school really helped my decision in choosing to go with CIEE and learning Italian.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Hudson. The other piece of just like as we're talking about costs to consider is that our programs, once once a applicant is or becomes a participant and is on our programs, all of their like everything, their costs are kind of like covered as a part of the program costs. So anything outside of like discretionary funding, like discretionary spending, like if you're buying souvenirs or a special snack, things like that, wouldn't be covered, but we do provide like all of the meals, we cover the cost of transportation, admission to like all of the activities that are done through the program, everything like that. And so like, like once they're on program, like again, like they'll need some spending money, but their basic, like all the basic needs are like met through that. What's not included in our program costs, and something to consider is that flights are not included in the costs of our programs. And like I mentioned before, a lot of people will fundraise to kind of like help cover the costs of flights, but when thinking about programs and looking at them, I think it's also important to consider that some programs and locations that we offer will have higher flight costs associated. So I would say like flying to Asia or flying to Africa will be more expensive than flying to Mexico or South America, the Caribbean, things like that. So something to consider as you're looking through programs as well. And the last thing I like to discuss in relation to costs is that as you're applying, and we're going to walk through the application process a bit, you're basically putting yourself out there for an opportunity. And so until we in February, like review the applications and provide the award amounts and the programs, you're not committed to going on the program yet. And so you can see your scholarship amount and make a decision at that point. And so I always just recommend having intentional conversations about family early on in the process, like thinking about the cost of flights, thinking about fundraising and trying to help kind of like set yourself up for that time that you want to spend abroad. I'm going to show you this in the application, so I'm going to quickly cover this slide, but I do want to point out some of the things on this slide that are a big factor in how we determine scholarships. So all of the applications will be reviewed starting on January 24th. That is our final deadline. We really recommend students finish their application and turn it in by December 1st because that will enter them into a drawing that would pay for the flight to their program destination. And so once the applications, like on January 24th, we'll start reviewing them. And how that works is two external reviewers, they're typically like teachers or people working with high school students, will review the application and score it. And the big parts of the application that they focus on in this review are the essay questions. There's 3 of them. We'll be looking at those in a moment. And then they also look at like academic factors like the GPA and the teacher recommendation. And so those are all areas of the application where scores, like a big amount of the scores are coming from in determining whether a scholarship will be awarded or not. Other things that are mentioned on this slide is aspects of the application that typically parents or need to be involved in or help with. So in the application, there is a long document. I think it's about 36 pages of heavy reading. But this is, again, something like we try to be transparent. And so at this time, like when you're reviewing this, you're not committing to going on the program yet, but it's just so that you can know what to expect in the future. And so when students enter in your email address, it will automatically send this to you and guide you towards the document so that you can review it and digitally sign it. The other part of the application for those applying for the academic merit and financial need scholarship that parents are typically helping with is the financial supporting documents, which I'm going to show in a moment. So I'll talk more about that then, but it is an IRS form from 2022 or 2023, the 1040, and there are also some other ways that you can, some alternative ways that you can demonstrate this if you don't file taxes. And so like I mentioned, December 1st, I think even if you're starting an application tonight, I think it's very doable to get the application done by December 1st. I think that finishing on this timeline not only gives you the opportunity to get a free flight to the program destination, but it also gives us time to take a look at your application, provide feedback, and just make sure that, you know, everything on the application looks good and ready for scholarship review. We mentioned this earlier, but again, CIEE has over $6 million in scholarship awards. It makes my heart happy every time I say that. And finally, the scholarship deadline, you like the last day that you can apply for this is January 24th. So I am going to, oh, and we have one more slide, sorry. We still have more presentations tomorrow. And so if you scan this QR code, you can see the full schedule. There's been so many great events this week focused on our different programs and to learn more about CIEE. So I will leave this up for just a moment while I get the application ready. And I'll also bring this up at the end during the Q&A so that you can scan this again if you haven't had the chance. Sorry, just give me one moment. I'm pulling up the application we're going to look at together. Okay, are we all looking at the CIEE application? Perfect. This is an application I started, and so we can kind of like walk through some of these tasks. What I will say is that the academic merit and financial needs scholarship will look the academic merit scholarship only will look very similar to this. The only differences that you'll see on the application is the tasks related to financial needs specifics, financial supporting documents, and program interest will also be different. So I'll try to highlight those as we go through the application. I'm going to do a pretty quick overview and just show you what this looks like. But as soon as you're starting the application, right when you start it, you automatically fill out this first section, which again just verifies whether you're a US citizen, your current grade, and what scholarship you want to apply for. If you previously started an application for a scholarship, maybe you started it only for the academic merit only scholarship and you'd like to switch to the merit and need, all you'll need to do is send us a message. You can do that through the application portal. I'll show that in a moment, or through our email. We'll make sure that we send how to get in touch with us in the chat to all of you. But you can send an email and we can get this switched over. So it'll go to your primary advisor and they can change that. It's not something that you can fully change on your own. Contact information is just providing the participant information, and then you have to enter 2 emergency contacts. So there's 1 primary emergency contact. You can, for the second emergency contact, for instance, some people say like who should I add if there's like if I'm the primary parent or things like that. Like it can be anyone over the age of 18 that you're okay with us and that like we can talk about the application with, but this is also the numbers that we use unless you change them in advance while students are abroad to contact you in the case that we need to. This is the CIEE terms and conditions. This is the part where, again, like you're going to put in a legal guardian email address and fill in this information, and then that will prompt basically like those terms and conditions coming to you. You can also review them here on your participant's application if you just wanted to go back and check anything. And just like the parent terms and conditions, we also ask for a student, like the participant, to actually sign their name. So these are both done digitally signed on the application. I want to mention that this comes up a lot, but in the top corner of the application, you can see Janelle Fossler, that's me. I'm the applicant, like the student, but sometimes if you're logged in through the legal guardian account, the first emergency contact will also have access to a parent portal where they can review all the information on the application. But if you see your name, like as a parent up here, that is why sometimes you can't fill in a lot of the application. So if you're ever having issues where you can't enter information, it's good to check up there. And sometimes that comes up when people are signing the terms and conditions. The Let's Get to Know You is for the participant to fill out. It discusses like a lot of kind of like basic general information like date of birth. We we ask for like gender identity, anything that they'd like to share with us about their interests, t-shirt size. So this is just a lot of general information put into one task. This is the financial need specifics document. So I'm going to skip down to the financial supporting documents and just show you that there is a link here called acceptable financial supporting documents. And this will show what basically like the other options for if you don't have a 1040. We asked for the 1040 from 2022 or 2023, and we recognize that you can't really do that for 2023 yet. So if there's a situation where your financial information changed a lot or anything like that, you can contact us and we can kind of talk you through how you could show your 2023 income on a 1040 instead of using the 2022 option. So it's always great to contact us for those kinds of like extenuating circumstances, and we can walk you through some options. The GPA in academics is really just like GPA and whether someone's taken honors classes. We do need students to upload an unofficial transcript. A lot of times this can be found in the student portal for their school. This is another difference with the need and merit scholarship in comparison to the merit only scholarship, and that students, again, like I mentioned, will be ranking their top 3 programs, and they'll also have the option to say which sessions they'd be available for in case they may be available for both sessions. Language experience, again, like the only programs that require prior language experience is French and Spanish. They both require 1 year or the equivalent speaking ability of 1 year, basically to do these programs, but we just collect this information for all of our programs. So it's any past language experience they have. An ID photo, which isn't used, like we don't hang this up to, like put names and faces together on the program. This is really used for like identification card purposes, like transit cards and things like that. So you'll find photo requirements here, but we basically want like a headshot style photo in front of a neutral background, preferably white. So this document details that. We get a lot of questions about this. Do you have a passport? If the participant's passport is currently expired, or if you don't have one yet, then you would just click no. It also provides a date up here. So we want the passports to be valid at least 6 months after they're in the program. You can ask us specifically about certain countries because sometimes that's not the rule or the case for all. If that comes up that it's really close to 6 months. But if you select no here, it's going to ask you basically to provide a date that you plan or intend to get your passport. So you can start scheduling your appointment. You can also put a date in here. Like if you think you're going to get it in mid-January, you could start with January 15th and then always send us a message to let us know accurately like when you'll have your appointment. I'd love to hear from both of you, Amber and Hudson, if you remember approaching the essay questions previously, or if you have any tips for everybody on that.
Yeah, I definitely remember my experience with all of those essays. The number one tip I could give for that is just take your time with it. Don't try to like rush through it. For responding to those, it is a good way to think out how this program is going to go for you and set yourself up for success. So for questions like this, like how it will impact your life, really take into account like not only academically, but like as a person, how can you grow, like everything that this trip can be for you, because it does set you up to have success in the future. For me, I took like a week or two just writing these essays out. But overall, just make sure to think how it can like really affect you personally, the specific program, and like take your time, like I said.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Holden, did you have some? Yeah, I'd love if you want to share more. I think that's great advice.
100%. Yeah. Just what Amber said. The I took up my time like a lot on these essay questions, and I also kind of ruminated very deeply on what the prompts meant to me as like a person and what it really meant to be going on this trip. But I also want to stress it's like these aren't just questions to be answered to like get you the place. You also kind of want to be true to yourself and be very make the answers come from the heart in a sense that you have to believe that you want to go on this trip and that this trip will make you like not necessarily a better person, but it'll give you experiences that you didn't have before.
Thank you so much, Hudson. That was great. I want to show in the essay questions a couple things. They're all going to have a character or word limit, so that's important to look at. And again, like we're not going to dock you if you are like 4,020 characters, but trying to be like close to these margins is always good. The other thing I want to highlight is that like most essay questions, there's some questions buried in questions. So for instance, this question, like how this program will impact your life, your personal goals associated with this program. You want to tie it to the program that you want to do and the location. I really like Amber's advice. I always tell students to approach this as like how this program will impact them, like academically, personally, things like that, like the things that they foresee. The other thing I want to mention is that it's good to have someone proofread this. Look for grammar and spelling errors. Really make sure that you reread the question and that like all the points of these questions are addressed. The next one is related to overcoming challenges. So again, it's providing an example of a time that you were in a situation outside of your comfort zone and basically like how you approached it. And I think really this question is kind of tying that back to like studying abroad. A lot of times you are out of your comfort zone. So being able to show like a positive example of how you've approached a challenge in the past. Again, just making sure like there's a lot of pieces of this question. So making sure you are addressing all the areas of the question. And then the last one is fairly easy. This one is how you spend your time outside of school. You can talk about sports, spending time with family, jobs, just like what brings you passion in life. Do you like writing? Do you like art? Like these are great things to include here. Again, like sometimes like up here, the words is the 300 to 600 words long. So sometimes you might find like on these two questions, they say that up here, whereas I know this one says the character limit at the bottom. So just checking through all the information. Really quickly, the teacher recommendation, we know teachers are busy. And so basically like we're just asking for the email address and their name. We send them a form, so it's not a letter of recommendation. They will fill out a form and there is an open kind of like part of the application where they can write more about the student. But again, we appreciate the teachers are very busy, so this isn't a big time commitment for them to do. We always recommend that participants or applicants talk to their teacher about the program, why they want to do this, and ask if they're willing to provide a recommendation. And I find that teachers want to support students in having these types of opportunities, and so are very willing to do this for students. how did you hear about us? This just lets us know some information, like we do have sibling and parent discounts if a parent or a sibling has done a CIEE program. So we collect some of this information here and learn more about how you found out about CIEE. And the last piece of the application is that there is a $25 application fee. And so this provides the opportunity to pay that. That's another area that a lot of times parents need to help support their applicant. So I think at this point, like we could open it up to Q&A, and then Amber and Hudson, it'd be great if you wanted to chime in on anything as well. I'm also going to stop sharing my screen so that we can all see each other. And I do see some of the questions that are coming up, so I can try to kind of skim through these as well. Someone asked if for the academic merit and financial needs scholarship, do you need to have good grades to be eligible for that scholarship? So what I'll say about that is that on average, again, on average, typically students will have about, I think it's a 3.5. I always tell students that have lower GPAs, or if their GPAs aren't where they want them to be, to talk about this in the Overcoming Challenges essay and kind of address like how they're approaching academics in that way. So I don't know if either of you have anything to say to that, but I'm just skimming through some other questions.
Something I definitely want to say is get started on your application probably as early as possible. Not only for the early flight like application to get like free flight, but also it's something that you want to do like give yourself time for. I remember specifically for my teacher recommendation, I just like kept like pushing it back, and it was like the night it was due, and I was messaging teachers like, I have this thing and like I really need someone to do it. It was not what you should be doing. Make sure to like get your stuff done by the deadlines, or like a week before the deadline, just to be safe. That's always a good idea, to just like remove the stress and make sure everything is quality. Yeah, that's definitely a tip of mine.
That is a great tip, Amber. So some other questions that we have, one of them is asking how does CIEE pick out who gets scholarships? So I think I started talking about this. I don't think that I finished this process. So just to let you, like we talked about the ranking and how the essay questions, the teacher recommendation, the GPA, those are the big parts of how our external reviewers, two of them, will review the application and score these applications. Once we have the scores back from the recommenders, we take that with the financial information provided in the application to determine the award amount for financial need and academic merit scholarships. So the amount of scholarship you receive, like the level of funding that you receive, is not directly related to how well you did on the application. It is based on financial need. Typically, so I'm going to say this is very general, but typically families that get some form of financial assistance or are around like under the $50,000 to $60,000 range would be the most likely to get like full or close to full scholarships. Again, every year this changes because of the application pool, and we're looking at the kind of like need of the application pool, and there is no upper limit. There are no limits. So again, this is very general, but we will start to typically see financial related scholarships start to taper off at around like $150,000 to $160,000 on average. So again, that's a big range. As income increases, typically the scholarship percentage or amount that you receive will decrease. And so we're happy to talk to you about that kind of like one-on-one in your situations around that. But that is also, yeah, just some general ideas on how the scholarship process is approached. So we take the scores and we look at the financial need internally and then provide an award based on that. Someone asked about the report cards. This is a great question. We get this a lot, that report cards aren't out until the end of January or in January. Sometimes that's the case. What we need right now is the unofficial transcript that shows all grades in high school. So if it doesn't include this semester that participants are in right now, that's okay. For freshmen, you can submit kind of like the grades and GPA from when the applicants are in middle school as well. If you're submitting your application by December 1st, you could put in the transcript that you have and we can update it for you prior to that January 24th deadline and basically like update your GPA for you at that time. We had a question about what if your financial situation changed since 2022? So that's a great question. If things are like, we can still we can use the 2022 or 2023 information. We recognize that our deadline is January 22nd. So most people may not have likely will not have their taxes filed at that time, and especially before December 1st. You can work with your advisor. I'll put this in the chat, but you can email us and that'll go directly to your advisor's inbox and they can work with you on this. But you can submit accurately your financial information for 2023 and use this. And we may need you to update this once the year is over to make sure it's still accurate. I'm still trying to look through some of these questions. Let's see. Someone asked if how early you submit the application influences the likelihood of you getting a scholarship. No, it doesn't. I would just say that holiday time is very busy. We at CIEE are off for the last week in December. We recognize that a lot of people are taking time to be off at the end of the year and it's a busy time. So I think getting it in by December 1st gives the advisor that you're working with time to review your application and make sure that we have everything needed and that you're kind of set up for success in that way. So I think that I talked about what we're looking for in the scholarship essays, but just to emphasize that again, I think that making sure that you answer all of the questions. I think Hudson gave a really good piece of advice of it being genuine and true to you, but looking at those essay questions, answering them and answering all components of the answer or of the question, and then just making sure it's well proofread and within or close to the word or character limits that we provide.
There's a question about a letter of recommendation about whether students could get a letter from a middle school teacher.
So if you are possibly a freshman in high school right now, and maybe you're feeling like you don't know your teachers as well, I think that that could be an option, but I really recommend talking and getting to know your teachers this semester and sharing this opportunity because again, I think that a lot of them, even if you don't know them as well as some of your teachers from middle school, I think it gives you an opportunity to really connect with a teacher. And again, I think that they're really willing to support students to have these types of opportunities. And it's not a big time investment. You can tell them right up front that it's not a letter of recommendation. It's more of like a form of recommendation. So I think that that all helps. If you really want to use a middle school teacher, I think that that would be okay, but I would suggest again to talk with your advisor about your independent, like individual circumstances and whether that's a good fit in that situation.
And just a follow-up on that, I see some more asking, can you get a recommendation from your counselor or from another outside program outside of school, a coach, something like that?
That's a great question. I always want to think about the recommendations of as like who's going to give you like a really strong recommendation, but also for what CIEE uses this for is part of kind of looking at academic merit. I think it's important to include someone that knows you in an academic setting. Sometimes coaches are also teachers that may have had you like last year and can speak about you academically and as a member of a team. But overall, I would encourage people to use teachers or people that do know you in an academic setting. Some people do like tutoring for languages and have worked with language instructors. And again, like I think that that's a great option. Like they do know you in that academic setting. So I would look at like who you're considering and how they can speak about you academically.
I have a couple questions about passports. When do applicants have to show the proof that they have their passport? By
So
when?
this is this is kind of a hard question. Let me say what we recommend. So we recommend having your passport by April 15th. Which means that if you start applying for the passport, once you find out if you've been accepted, it could mean that you would have to expedite the passport at that time. Last year, we had really long passport delays, some people up to like 3 to 4 months because of processing issues. So I think it's great for everyone to have a passport. And so it's something that you could start doing now, but you wouldn't need to technically have it until you travel, but that's taking some risks because you will have to have your plane ticket. You will be like making payments towards the program. And if you don't have your passport, then you wouldn't be able to have this experience after all of that. So I recommend applying early. I recommend that applying in February when you find out will probably work, but depending on the situation could lead to a slightly more expensive application fee to get it expedited. And so just something to consider. But ultimately, we just need to have the passport, but you need to have the passport by the time you travel. And you're kind of like taking on that responsibility of doing that. For everyone that does have their passports, we will collect them by April 15th. So that we have them on file. So someone asked about flights. This is a great question. How do you know how much a flight is going to cost? We don't. Flights fluctuate a lot and it can be hard to predict the cost of flights. We do have the option for students to fly on a chaperone flight, which is really great. They'll be with their other program participants. Um, but what I would say is that like going to like Google Flights or something like that, you can get a general idea of flights. I tell people to round way up because we're thinking of summertime from what they have, just so like budgeting higher is great because then you may have more money in your pocket than you expected and things like that. But again, like I would say like your advisor can talk with you about like pricing that we've seen in the past for programs and just overall like Asia and Africa can be a lot more expensive to fly to. Like the further away you're going, the higher the cost of the flights will be. How do we connect with our assigned advisor? I'm going to put this in will the chat go to everybody in the group? I'm sorry.
Yes, it should, as long as it says to
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm going to send this right now. So when you email our general email address, hsabroad@ciee.org, if you started an application, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of messages from us already. When you email that email address, it'll go directly to your advisor or advisor's inbox. There's an option to message through the application portal. I forgot to show you, but when you click help, it can send a message and that will also go to your advisor. And then I'm going to put in our phone number. When you call, you can talk to any of the advisors, but they can also see if the person that you're working with is available while you're on the phone. So I'm just grabbing that quick. We schedule calls as well. So I'm about to put, I probably should have done this in one email, but bear with me.
While you're doing that, is it okay if I offer my Instagram? I'll put it in the chat. Just if anyone has any questions, feel free to message me. Any students are totally welcome. I can help if you have essay, if like to help start the essay writing process. I'm very able to help out with that. So I'll go ahead and put it in the chat if anyone wants to message me.
And I'm just pulling up the link to schedule a call. When you're on this website, it will list dates, and that's how we kind of like assign advisors here. So when you're on this website, this will show you who your advisor is. So I just put those in the chat. I'm going to try to look for a few more questions to hit. I think one of the ones that I wanted to talk about is someone asked, what happens if you don't receive a scholarship? And that's a great question. We have a really high percentage of students that apply for scholarships that get them, anywhere in the like 60% or higher range. So that's amazing for a scholarship application. I worked in higher education for a long time, and you typically see very, very low percentage of, like awardees. So that is really great. If you weren't to receive a scholarship, there's several options. You can choose to still do a program, and you can pick the program that you want to do based on capacity, of course. So you could like choose a program and decide to move forward without the scholarship. If you are a freshman or a sophomore, again, you can like apply again the following year. So you can apply for the merit and need, and you can take what you learned into that next application if it's not possible for you to travel without a scholarship. And again, we also talked about like fundraising and these other sources of funding. So that can also really come into play for students that don't receive scholarships. And I'm just seeing if there's anything else. So the only other thing that I'll say is that some people asked about like their first program of choice or their first like destination of choice. And so again, like we really can't say what the chances are based on that you'll get your first choice program. But what I can emphasize is that we try our best to give you your first choice program. And so when we are looking at this, we have to like consider the capacity of programs. We want to represent our programs. And again, we also have the funding stipulation that 80% of the scholarship funds are going to language and culture programs. And so it is a very big, complicated puzzle, but again, I think that's part of the importance of really looking through the programs and being like open-minded. There's so many amazing programs. I'm going to put that into the chat right now as well, just where you can find information on all of our programs. And so I think unless Amber or Hudson, did you want to share any kind of last advice or inspiration maybe for all of these people watching and considering this?
Of course, yeah. This program is not just like a program. It's not just applying for things and writing essays and all of this work. It may seem kind of not tedious, but unwanted in now. But when you're on the program, like I spent hours on the essays and doing the scholarships and getting teacher recommendations, but it paid off not 100, but like 1,000-fold the trip itself, and I'm genuinely better for it. So do not hesitate to join these programs, even if the scholarships may seem like very big and scary. You will likely, you will probably, and you will definitely have the time in your life.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
It's
I was just going
definitely
to
like,
prompt you to go too.
yeah, for sure. It is definitely like a once in a lifetime experience. Like everyone will talk about their study abroad experience. You're like, these people are telling it up. No, like you get there and it's like an entire new, you can't get that experience anywhere else. To be able to travel as a high school student to see other parts of the world, that changes you as a person, how you educate yourself, how you think. It's such a formative experience that not only educationally but as a person, that I would not trade it for anything. And these essays and steps are 100% worth it, like Hudson said, or yeah, to get there. It's the destination is worth it. Wherever you choose to go, it will continue to help you through life. So yeah, definitely apply. It is worth it. I have not heard of anyone that went to their program and like did not come out of it a more educated person. Who like everyone had their own unique experience of growing, and it was worth it, like I promise you.
Thank you both so much for coming and sharing. Oh, makes me so happy. Thank you, Brianna, for being here to help support this session. Again, there was a lot of information in the chat, but if you have any other questions, you can schedule a call with us. You can send us an email. We're here to support you every step of the process, and I look forward to connecting with you further potentially in the coming days, weeks, months coming up. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thanks so much for joining us. Is it just us now?
No, I think there's
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to end the webinar. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, I haven't figured that out yet either, honestly.
Oh, I see it on the bottom. It might just kick us all off, but Amber and Hudson, you guys were amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. You did an excellent job.
So good. Thank you guys. You're awesome.
Yeah. Well, have a good night.
you.
Gonna
Bye.
press this red end button. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.